We call the Town of Winterville's Planning and Zoning Board Committee for October 21st to order. Welcome to all of our board members, staff, and to those in the audience. Excuse absences, we have Darlene Gardner and Henry Hostel. We have a quorum? So we have requested excuse for Darlene Garner and Henry. What's the pleasure of the board?
I move the absence be excused.
Second. It's been moved in properly second. And time to consider. All those in favor, use your voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. Okay. Excuse absences approved. The approval of the agenda, which was sent to us via electronically, and then there's a copy in front of you, I believe. What is the pleasure of the board?
I move the agenda be accepted as received.
It's been moved in properly second. And time to consider. All those in favor, use your voting sign aye.
Aye.
Those opposed likewise. The agenda stands approved. New business, staff.
Good evening, Planning and Zoning Board. Tonight we will see a couple of familiar items that we saw last month with some amendments to those items. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly tonight in respect of your time. We ask that the applicant does as well. But while I'm presenting this, please let me know if you would like me to stop or explain anything. Again, Planning and Zoning Board meeting tonight, October 21st, 2024. This is the first agenda item that we have tonight is a rezoning request for Southbrook, a PUD amendment to an existing zoning district / PUD. The applicant is Southbrook NC LLC. This is off of Church Street Extension and Laurie Ellis Road. It's a 245.43 acre site. It is currently a conditional zoning district with a R6 PUD and a multifamily residential PUD. They are proposing some amendments to this PUD and the rezoning district. A planned unit development, or PUD, is a form of rezoning and use that is typically intended for flexibility in design and clustering homes. Specifically for this site, there are a lot of environmental features on this site, and thus a PUD made sense for this specific site. Town Council approved this PUD on January 9th, 2023. Notifications were sent by mailings, and a sign was also replaced on October 8th. This is the site that we are considering in blue. Church Street Extension going north to south. We've got Laurie Ellis Road going east to west. This is an image of the rezoning map. Don't pay too much attention to the road design. The road design is not really important to this rezoning. We are looking at the locations of the zoning districts. So the light tan colors are single family detached, so just a regular home. And then the darker color right here, which is a yellow on your plan, this is single family attached, or more commonly known as townhomes. What is specifically different on this zoning map to the previous zoning map is what we're terming Middle Crest Drive right here. So this area right here, the applicant is seeking to expand the single family attached, not the number of units, but just the location of single family attached, as we'll see. So again, as we dive a little bit closer, They are looking to expand this single-family attached within this area. It will still remain that this subdivision can only have 154 townhomes. Staff supports this aspect of the proposed rezoning in that it reduces environmental impacts to the PUD and is more in alignment for the purpose of the PUD in a subdivision ordinance. The previous proposal was showing a crossing of a blue line stream or riparian buffer. This is a much better design for the PUD than the previous. Another significant change to this one than the previous is the home size. Currently, they are required to have 1,800 heated square foot for single-family detached homes. They are now requesting that the homes be 1,500 square foot heated space for single story and 1,600 heated square foot for two-story homes. They are also requesting that the townhomes be reduced in size as well, from the current requirement of 1,600 square foot for the townhomes to the proposed single-family attached or townhomes for 1,400 square foot heated space. Tonight, we're going to look at 3 subdivisions that connect directly with Southbrook. And the reason why I chose 3 is because these 3 have direct interconnectivity with Southbrook, so these neighborhoods will all flow together. The 3 subdivisions that we are going to consider is Mellon Downs off of Lori Ellis Road, Holly Grove off of Church Street Extension, and Brookstone off of Church Street Extension. Again, these were chosen because these are existing subdivisions that will feed directly into Southbrook. The first one we're going to look at is Holly Grove. This is a single-family detached only site. There are no townhomes within this subdivision. It's 61 homes completely built out. The average home size is 2,370 square foot. The minimum size home in there is 1,821 square foot. This zoning district is R12-5 conditional district. The condition that the developer placed on themselves at the time was that the home shall be a minimum of 1,800 square foot of heated space. Brookstone, which is on Church Street Extension as well, has 32 existing homes. There are 49 lots in the next phase, which is currently under construction drawing review. This has no townhomes. It is a single-family detached only product. The average home size is 2,511 square foot. The minimum existing home is 2,032 heated square foot. The zoning district in the first phase was R15 conditional zoning district. The minimum home size that the developer placed on themselves was 2,000 square foot of heated space within this subdivision. They also had a requirement that 75% of the lots shall have a minimum of 20,000 square foot lots, and that 25% of the lots shall have a minimum of 17,500 square foot lots. Now, keep in mind, that's the lots, that's not the house. The house is 2,000. But these are extremely large lots within the first phase. Now, the second phase, which will have direct driveway and road access interconnectivity with Southbrook, is an R10 zoning district. There is not a conditional home size within that second phase, which will have 49 lots. Mellon Downs is the third and last subdivision that we're going to consider because it has direct road interconnectivity as well. This is 84 homes on Lori Ellis Road, single-family detached only. There are no townhomes within this subdivision. Average home size is 2,082 heated square feet. Minimum is 1,490 square foot of heated space. This is an R12.5 zoning district, so 12,500 square foot lots. The future land use of the land around this that is currently undeveloped will be dominated by single-family detached. Again, this PUD was extremely unique and was permitted due to the significant amount of environmental features on this site. The future development character of the surrounding areas is suburban residential. Suburban residential suggests three zones, R20, R15, R12.5. It also suggests that R10 and R8 can be considered if 10 to 30% or more of the site is dedicated to open space. The character and use suggested within suburban residential character areas is large lots, primarily low-density, single-family residential. The rural residential character area is a small area adjacent to this as well to the southeast. The comprehensive land use plan suggests that these remain agricultural residential for the time being. So 20,000 square foot lots, minimum lot size. This is mostly a rural outskirt style area. We're not prioritizing growth in this area for the next 15 plus years due to utilities. So this is primarily large lot residential farm homes, agricultural use, agricultural buildings, occasional single family detached home in a rural configuration. Just to give you an idea, everything in yellow here is suburban residential. The small area of rural residential is in the green right here. And this is Southbrook. We want to remind planning and zoning that we'd like to use the future land use map and comprehensive land use plan when making land use decisions. There are also three other very minor proposed changes, or more minor proposed changes. A minor change in lot widths on construction drawings. Staff already expects that there may be very small changes on lot widths and lot lines. So we've informed the applicant that this is not a concern, but it's already something that is expected. So this is going to be treated the same as every other subdivision. The applicant has also added a statement that multiple single-family detached homes will be made available by the builder within the subdivision, and that all single-family attached townhomes will contain at least one one-car garage. Again, we're going to have just a quick summary of changes. An extension of multifamily residential zoning area, but not the number, not more units, just the location. A reduction in the heated square footage of the homes. A requirement that each townhome shall have one car garage. An added statement that there will be multiple single-family detached homes, and an added statement that small changes in lot lines are to be expected. We have received one letter of support for this project. Mr. Abbott Hunsucker is the owner of 43-acre farmland to the south of this development. I've also provided this letter in front of you. He believes that it would diversify housing units and provide more affordable housing prices. Since our town documents do not go into the heated square foot of homes, there was nothing directly that the town could use to recommend approval or recommend denial of this. Thus, we're asking that the Planning and Zoning Board and Town Council consider this for consistency and reasonableness as required by the state. So one, we're going to look at the plan's consistency. Is it consistent with a suburban residential character area? And it's labeled as number 1 in front of you. I have a template that we're going to begin to use, especially with the complexities of this rezoning. I thought we should probably go for a little bit more formal vote to align with the state's requirements. And we're going to use this from here on out, but I thought this was a good one to start on just because it was so complex. So again, plan consistency for suburban residential. Secondly, appropriateness for the proposal. So especially for this one, the two large requirements, or requests rather, are the home size, which is a 1,400 square foot townhome and a 1,500 square foot single family detached. The extended location for townhomes is another consideration. which of course staff would approve if that was the single proposal for tonight. And of course, we want to consider the PUD and conditional zoning requirements as well. This guide is sitting at your seat again with the number 1 on it, and we will get to that after we get through the public comments. But before we open up public comments, does anybody have any questions for staff?
With regard to the question of consistency, are we looking at it from the comparable neighborhoods you showed us, or the definition of suburban residential?
Yes, sir. We're looking at suburban residential for consistency. For reasonableness, you are looking a little bit more at the surrounding areas to see if it's compatible with that area and the town's vision for growth in that area as well.
In reference to the construction drawing approval revision process, what is staff's threshold for what requires a plat review versus just a subdivision of a lot?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
So there's a statement in here that the developer can establish and modify lot width revisions for single-family detached lots. That's adjusting property lines, I'm assuming.
So we would, as long as you are not adding another lot, so let's say a street has 15 lots. As long as you're not rearranging the location of lots, things like that, that's perfectly fine. If a lot line shifts 5 foot into one direction because they have to expand a stormwater facility or some utilities or something like that, that's something that we expect once they actually get onto the site and see the depths of the soil quality and stuff like that. So it's really a very minor shift in lot lines. Anything that would be beyond that really has to come back to the board for review.
Okay.
We'll open the floor for public comment.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman of the Planning Board, for the opportunity to speak. My name is Scott Moore. I represent the applicant, who is Southbrook NC LLC. So at the last Planning Board meeting, we took all of the concerns and recommendations that you guys had into consideration. And I just want to briefly cover all of those revisions that we've made to this plan. So I'll be brief in my comments. So one of the items, if you recall, was one of the ordinance requirements that we discussed at the last meeting pertained to block lengths. Now, we removed the alternative for the mid-block pedestrian access, which is shown in that square there, from the PUD language, and as well removed that from the mid-block pedestrian access. So we took that out, and we replaced it with a public street that was recommended by staff. So this will put our plan in compliance with the block length requirements of the town's ordinances. We also proposed several changes regarding the flexibility of development and allowing us to work directly with staff on minor visions. We basically reinstated the approved language and just provided that one area where you were talking about previously of shifting those lot lines. We just left that in there to be able to do. Another revision consists of relocating, as staff talked about, the single-family attached lots to Middlecrest while not increasing the density of the project. We agree with staff that this revision will eliminate the Neuse River buffer crossing, and with addition, the environmental impacts to that area as well. One of the revisions that was also stated by staff was the reduction in the square footage of the homes. Now, these revisions are not indicative of all the homes that will be built, as we continue to require a wide range of home styles and square footages. There was concern about the product offerings, so we added that condition in blue that will require multiple home types and elevations to be made by the builder for single-family detached homes. We will also require, as staff stated, the one-car garage for single-family attached. One of the things that we did not cover at the last meeting is what we require with architectural standards within PUDs that are seen throughout the communities that we have built. Now, understandably, in some of these slides, there are homes that are bigger than what we will build in this community, but it's to give you an idea or an example of what we require from our builders in terms of architectural elements through the exterior design of these homes. We also pay a lot of attention to the details so that we create design streetscapes that are cohesive and so that they work well together. And we also provide the same level of architectural scrutiny to our single-family attached product as well. The important item to note here is that we're freely offering these restrictions to extend the brand, our brand, that we have provided really in communities across the state. Now, what we have seen over the last several decades is that the value of these homes are not only held, but we see them increase significantly over time. All of this is taking place because of the restrictions that we freely impose on our builders. And I hope that what I have provided here will kind of reinforce the commitment that we have to what we want to see in Southbrook. Now, as far as the factors of consistency and reasonableness, staff has provided on page 9 of their staff report, the minimum square footage of homes within the communities that are connecting to Southbrook. From what I can see, our proposal of home sizes with the changes that will be in range of the homes that are built around the community. So we feel that what we have built or what we're going to build will be consistent with what is actually on the ground in these other communities as well. So even though you were voting, or you'll be voting on the PUD revisions now, I do want to note that we've made several other changes to the plat that addresses some of your concerns from last month. Connectivity, retention, open space, and preservation, all of these I want to go into more detail with you, but when we get to that item after the changes that are taking place here. So my hope is that based on the last planning board meeting, we have listened to your concerns, we've made the revisions to address those concerns, and through these changes, and as noted in the staff report, we have made plans completely compliant with the zoning and the subdivision ordinances, and we have incorporated all of staff's recommendations. We've made many changes to address the planning board and the public members that came here as well. So I just want to thank you, and I very much appreciate all of your input into that process in that regard. As a final note, and staff has confirmed, looks like the town attorney is here as well, that our central submittal here is an all or nothing approach. So my request to you as a board that if there are things that you do not want to see approved as a part of this proposal, then please make a recommendation to approve with condition and list the items that you do not want the town board to approve as a part of this request. The only item that is necessary for the preliminary plat review is the approval of those single-family relocation to Middlecrest, which staff recommends for approval. This will allow us to move forward with the preliminary plat, and then the town board can adjust their vote per your recommendation. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions for the development? Representative? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so with this handout that I've provided, there are really 3 different sections. There's a consistency, which will be the first kind of review and vote. I want to say that we are approving a written statement here documenting whether documenting your consideration of whether this zoning text amendment is in alignment with the suburban residential character area. I have in the box a kind of standard template on how somebody may make that motion if they wish to approve or deny, stating that it is consistent or it is not consistent. And we'll start with that one. Secondly, then we will go to the reasonableness. The state provides 5 different considerations that the board may make. You may look at the reasonableness and say, it is reasonable with the surrounding area. And again, I've got the kind of a template way that you can propose this vote if you wish on the bottom in the box. So you can just say that it's reasonable with the public interest and is in harmony with the surrounding areas and land uses. Or you can specifically call out one of the five, especially if you wish to deny it. We would ask that you would then explain why it is not reasonable with the surrounding area. Finally, after those two, we will vote to approve or deny the rezoning in total. And if the board wished to begin with the consistency statement, if you have any questions, just certainly let me know.
All right, concerning consistency, what is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I make a motion that this is consistent with our comprehensive land use.
I second.
Okay. Had time to consider. Question. All those in favor, using the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Second item, reasonableness.
Madam Chair, the rezoning request is reasonable and in the public interest in that it allows for land uses that are harmonious with the surrounding lands and land uses in close proximity.
Okay. Second.
I second.
Question, you had time to consider? Question.
Question, please. I just want to make sure I'm clear. Are we voting on all of the items under reasonableness or just one? Please help me out here.
So under reasonableness, there are 5 considerations in which the state says you may consider the reasonableness, the standard of reasonableness. Now, Mr. Dominy just made a motion for all of them, so he does not have to individually go by each and every one of those. Okay. Those are just 5 considerations that you may consider per state statute.
So it's been moved and properly second. Had time to consider. Question. All those in favor of reasonableness, use your voting sign aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Likewise, sign. Considering the rezoning request, what is the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion, the rezoning request be approved.
Been moved and properly second. You've had time to consider. Questions? All those in favor, use your voting sign aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, use the not like sign. Opposed. Item 2.
All right, thank you for that. Next one we have. Next one, we have the preliminary plat for Southbrook Phase 2. Again, since we looked at this last week, I want to be fairly quick on it. There were some of the major concerns of interconnectivity to Middle Crest Drive were resolved. The block length was also resolved. So tonight we are looking at, again, Southbrook NC LLC. This is the Phase 2. It is a 245.43 acre site. This Phase 2 is just 194.95 acres of the site. It's a conditionally zoned district. The tricky part about this is the rezoning that you just voted on has not been formally adopted by council. So they will get the vote for that. Just keep that in mind. I'll kind of loop back around on why I say that right here in a second. So this will have 336 single-family detached lots in this phase, 98 townhomes within this phase, for a total of 434 residential units. This is going to be a 612-unit development in total. The single-family detached lots average 8,491 square foot. Single-family attached lots will feature 2,200 square foot. The preliminary plat also proposes 11.45 acres of recreation land dedication. This will be finally approved at the final plat. The applicant is actually reviewing some of the components of the recreational additions, but they wanted to finalize the street design first before adding all of the recreational elements. Again, the reason why I say we're kind of in limbo right now is because the current zoning district states that this area in which Middle Crest Drive is located is an R6 zoning district. So therefore, single-family attached is not permitted within the R6 zoning district. Now, if the rezoning that you just recommended approval on is approved by town council, then this would be compliant with the town. But with it not permitting single-family attached within that zoning, within the R6 zoning district, we do have to recommend denial. One consideration that the board may want to, or one thing that you may want to consider, and again, this is just a thought, you do not have to follow this, but if the area in which Middle Crest Drive is located is ever rezoned to multifamily residential, which again was just approved within that rezoning district, then the preliminary plat would meet all town requirements, and thus the Planning and Zoning Board would recommend approval of the preliminary plat if the rezoning were to be approved. Again, that's just a consideration. You can review that as a condition, but if you have any questions, certainly let me know. Happy to assist.
Any questions for staff?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is this matter able to be tabled until the next meeting?
Yes, sir, you may table this, but I will say you will not have any resolve because the next Planning and Zoning Board meeting will be scheduling of a public hearing for the rezoning, so it will actually be in December before they would make a decision on the rezoning.
So if the board goes ahead and approves this, not our board, the town board, would that automatically approve that since we have already?
No, so within the single-family attached area, the subdivision, and we're getting a little bit in the weeds here, but the subdivision ordinance would not allow a modification of the zoning ordinance. So the zoning districts are within the zoning ordinance, not within the subdivision, ordinance. So therefore, we legally could not approve a single-family attached product in the Middle Crest Drive area as presented now. The rezoning would have to be approved in order to approve that single-family attached within that area. And just to give you a little bit of an idea of my understanding of the intended timeline, I believe the applicant is asking to table it for next month's council so that it will go on the same night as the rezoning. So the rezoning would be held first, and then if council approves the rezoning, then the preliminary plat could be theoretically approved. If they did not, then it would not meet the standards of the zoning ordinance, if that's understood. That is a consideration that the board could make. They could recommend denial and then say, however, if town council does approve this rezoning, then we would recommend approval of it under that circumstance. Is that clear? Okay.
not 100%, but
I know, it's so confusing. I completely get it.
I guess my question is, whatever action if we take tonight, what is the most likely or the least likely that we're gonna see this again to have to go through all this one more time?
So I think legally, right now, they cannot have single-family attached within that area. Without the rezoning fully being adopted by town council, then they can not place single-family attached or townhomes within that area. Excuse me. However, the board may want to consider, especially with the approval of the rezoning previously, which would shift single-family attached within the Middle Crest Drive area, then you may want to say, in light of our recommendation to approve the rezoning, then we did not, because it currently doesn't meet it. However, if it is approved by town council, then we would recommend approval.
But then the next time we would see them is when they come to bring their final plat, not voting on this.
That's correct. The next time you would see this would be, well, I say a final plat. Yes, that's correct. It would be a final plat. Yes, sir.
Would that be subject to public comment for the residents in that area that the change would be made in?
The preliminary plat will not. That is not a public comment item. The rezoning will be. So the rezoning itself, this upcoming town council meeting will be scheduling of the public hearing. And theoretically, we would expect it to be in December to actually hold the public hearing for the rezoning. That does encompass the rezone or the amendments to the Middle Crest Drive area. So they do have somewhat of a say, but not directly on the preliminary plat, if that makes sense. It would just be the rezoning itself.
Any other question for staff? Did we have comments from the developer he wanted to share?
No, this isn't a public
Okay.
comment session. No, sir.
Okay. What is the pleasure of the board?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. I was sort of drafting over there to decide a potential motion. This is solely if y'all were inclined to go this way by me suggesting it. I'm not trying to influence your decision, but something along the lines of Planning Board recommends denial of the preliminary plat as that it does not meet requirements of the zoning ordinance, but would recommend conditional approval of the preliminary plat subject to the town council rezoning the subdivision at its whatever meeting. So I think you sort of have, again, this is if you want to go this way, you have to acknowledge that you deny it because right now it doesn't meet the requirements, but you're saying, however, if the town board, the town council does something, you can do conditional approval tonight based on that. Does that make sense? I just thought I would kick that out just in case y'all were,
And
it's somewhat helpful. Thank
we
you.
just need to be specific to the next town council meeting in order to not leave it open-ended. Is that?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, I'm assuming this would be voted on in December?
Yes, it would likely be voted on in December. Is your concern that perhaps the applicant would try to make some changes between this board and town council, or that it would be an open-ended recommendation?
I feel like it opens us up for other situations like this, conditional approvals for something down the line. And so that you'd see more of those types of requests.
Sure.
And that's an excellent point. what we lawyers always sort of look for, is there a reason why you're doing it? I mean, as you probably know, I don't often come to y'all's meetings. Stephen and staff does an excellent job. Tonight is a little unusual. I think we all recognize that this particular set of factual situation is a little unusual. So I think there's sort of a reason why we might do a conditional approval, simply because of the unusual nature of how this is coming back in.
Okay.
My apologies. Any other question for me?
Is there any change?
No.
What's going on?
No, he was just had some questions about sort of, again, this is, and I defer to Stephen on this, but I think this is a pretty unusual set of circumstances, sort of why we're going back and forth. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so board, we have before us the preliminary plat, which staff does not recommend approval. However, our previous actions would make this approvable if the town council was to approve the recommendation that we're sending to them to rezone. So we have before us the considerations to deny with conditions to approve based on our previous recommendations, or to deny outright, which will then again bring this before us at a later date, or we can approve, which is not recommended by staff at this time. So what is the pleasure of the board concerning the preliminary plat for Southbrook Phase 2?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we deny the preliminary plat with the condition as stated by Keene, which is, you got it written down, so you can give it to Don.
I'll give it to Don. Is that okay?
That's fine with me.
Okay, so we have a motion to deny with the conditional approval based on the wording subject to advised by the town attorney. Do we have a second? Okay, it's been moved and properly second to deny with conditional conditions of the denial. You had a chance to consider. Question. All those in favor, use your voting sign aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, use the likewise sign. Staff report.
I don't have much for you guys tonight. I'll let y'all go. If anybody does have any questions, certainly give me a call, send me an email, anything that I can do to help. Certainly let me know. Thank you.
Any comments from board members? All right. There be no comments. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Been moved and properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting stands adjourned.